Well, we're fresh off finishing the Augusta Business Daily Culture Expo. I'm with Darin Meyers. Darin, you were third up on the dais, if you will, keynote speaker. What'd you think of the expo?
Oh, I thought it was great. Sort of reinforced what I've learned is how important culture is, and I think throughout the day, the various speakers really did a good job of enforcing the concepts of how important culture is, and I certainly tried to put some icing on the cake there at the end as the cleanup batter, if you will.
Absolutely. In the third hole.
Well, I'm sorry. We only had 3 keynotes. So, but I guess that was the cleanup.
That's okay. You did great, and I think a thread throughout the day was we still are facing a labor shortage, and you touched on that.
Yeah, I tried to look how important, in fact, teamwork, and I think in our title here, is so important. But, you know, I emphasized in my speech that, you know, we're all combating and fighting for a finite number of labor. They're in a pool that's shrinking, and we know what's been going on here as of late, pandemic-wise. And I just wanted to try to emphasize, as business owners, you got the levers of benefits and wages and all that, and that's all fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, the teamwork of the organization is very, very important as well.
And what's a bit tricky is we're living in an era, I suppose, where there's a bit of a generational shift. One of the things you brought out is there's basically 5 different class of people now.
Yeah, driving good culture in a company is hard enough, and with the fact that you got a labor shortage, and by the way, that labor shortage is going to continue to be a problem, and in fact, there's data out there that says it's going to continue to get tighter over the next decade. Europe has certainly had a fertility rate issue, and they're dealing with issues, but it isn't just to the European continent. I think our country's got a labor shortage projection that it's going to shrink as well in the next decade. And so combine that with what you mentioned of we currently have 5 generations. Now, I have a 75, 76-year-old employee in my business, and I know others do as well. And so even the pre-baby boomers, the baby boomers, the Gen X's, the millennials, the Gen Zers, and all that stuff, there's arguably 5 generations currently sitting in people's office spaces and their teams.
Yeah, and the person you mentioned is part of what's called the traditionalists, if you will, the sage, seasoned veterans.
Right.
And what we once thought of would be maybe millennials. You can now there's Generation Z, you know, even younger,
right,
than the millennials. So, boy, I guess how can this create a cultural divide with the crossover of those 5?
Yeah, well, I think what I was trying to emphasize is developing a culture that is a healthy culture is tough enough without any other kind of dynamics coming into play. However, if you insert the ingredients of post-pandemic, where we have, in some cases, working remotely or flexible work schedules, you tie that in with, hey, I have 5 differing demographics that are potentially operating within my team, and they all typically dance or sing to a different sheet of music. It can be very difficult. We know what makes a baby boomer tick is frankly dramatically different than someone that was born after the year 2000.
Right.
And
I'm a boomer.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I am. I think I was born in 1966, so I think I'm a millennial, or not a millennial. I think I'm a Gen Xer.
Gen Xer.
Right. But the point there is, in each one of those generations, I think we all have differing driving factors. And so back to the office and the workforce, it's difficult to talk about getting a good culture when everybody in your group may see things differently and may be motivated by different items.
And we should say that Darin studies this and works with business owners and key leaders really every day as a coach with Tab CSRA, and his website is tabcsra.com. And this is a peer-to-peer type advisory group. And how important are some of these aspects to the folks that you work with on a daily basis? Is this something that comes up a lot?
A lot is maybe a
understatement.
I think, at least within my boards, it seems like we talk a lot about labor, whether it's trying to hire, trying to recruit, trying to retain. There's a lot of frustration out there. And as I talk to other Tab business owners across the country, we're no different. And it seems like, I would tell you, 75% of the time I chat with people, it's about something associated with labor to some degree.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's isolated to the CSRA here in Augusta or Aiken, but I think it's nationwide. So I think that's, but the point I want to try to make a little bit at the Business Expo is clearly a wage is important for all generations. Clearly good benefits are good as well. But for the newer generations, that wage and benefits is certainly important, but that teamwork and the culture and feeling employed and engaged and involved is very important as well. So as you're tackling reducing labor, opportunities, and you're competing with other business owners for a finite number of people, it's, I think, very, very important to make sure that your teamwork isn't running off good labor. So that's why you asked what I wanted to entitle this podcast. I thought, hey, just need to recognize team pitfalls or team shortages or team downfalls, in my mind, equals labor shortages. It will only come with time. And so you're having to push a rope if your teamwork isn't working right when it comes to trying to attract and retain good employees.
That seems like the overriding problem, if you will, in the CSRA. And of course, there are solutions, and we're going to touch on those solutions with Darin. Again, he runs a peer-to-peer advisory board and does coaching of business leaders, and that is tabcsra.com. But since we are in the season of Thanksgiving, we should give gratitude to the hosts, Augusta Podcasts. You've been here several times. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I want to applaud the facility and the staff. They've, as someone that's limited on getting and doing podcasts or videoing or broadcasting kind of stuff, I would call myself a rookie or a novice. And this group has really set me at ease coming in here and making me look better than maybe I deserve. So I really think they do a great job.
And we try to post a number of their podcasts that they do for other clients on our website at augustabusinessdaily.com. And you can go to augustapodcasts.com. That's plural. They have about 20 clients now, and you can kind of look through and see some options for your business. Again, that's augustapodcasts.com.